Welcome to Code Your English, a space where language meets reflection, and where we explore ideas that help you grow, not only as an English learner, but as a thinker, a creator, and a human being in this noisy, connected world. Today, I want to invite you into a quiet conversation, one that begins not with more information, but with a pause, a moment to breathe, to think, to notice. Let's start with a simple but powerful question. When was the last time you were truly alone with your thoughts? No music in your ears? No podcast playing in the background? No phone lighting up beside you? Just you, your breath, your senses, your own inner voice. For many of us, that kind of silence has almost disappeared. The modern world hums with constant activity. We wake up to screens, we eat with screens, we fall asleep to screens. Our minds are never really still, always jumping between messages, notifications, videos, updates. Even when we think we're relaxing, our attention is being quietly pulled in 100 directions. Think about it. How many times have you picked up your phone without any real reason? How often do you scroll, not because you're interested, but because you're restless? Those endless loops, the quick checks, the small hits of dopamine, they've become part of our daily rhythm. But underneath that rhythm, something else is happening. We're losing touch with our own mental space. The constant buzz of the digital world has become the soundtrack of our minds. And over time, it shapes how we think, how we feel, and how deeply we experience life. You might notice it in small, quiet ways, like the difficulty of reading a long article without distraction, or that restless need to check your phone even when nothing important is happening. These small moments reveal a bigger truth. We've started outsourcing our attention to devices that were never designed to give it back. The problem isn't that we use technology. It's that technology uses us. It's not that screens exist, but that they have slowly replaced silence, reflection, and focus with noise, speed, and constant reaction. But here's something important. Today's conversation is not about rejecting technology. It's not a call to throw away your phone or delete every social app. It's about reclaiming control, learning to live intentionally in a digital world that constantly asks for your attention. Digital minimalism is not about restriction. It's about freedom. It's the practice of choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. It's about creating space, mental, emotional, and creative space, for what truly matters. So, as we begin this episode, I invite you to slow down, to listen, not just with your ears, but with your awareness. Notice how your body feels, how your mind reacts, where your attention goes. Because the journey we're about to take is not about adding more. It's about subtracting what no longer serves you. It's about reconnecting with that quiet part of yourself that technology often drowns out. And maybe, by the end of this episode, you'll rediscover something simple yet profound, that your time and your attention are the most valuable things you own, and that you have the power, right now, to choose how you spend them. The attention economy, understanding the trap. Let's take a deeper look at what's really happening beneath the surface of our daily digital habits. When we talk about the attention economy, we're not just using a catchy phrase. We're describing a powerful system that shapes how billions of people think, feel, and behave every single day. The term means exactly what it sounds like. Our attention, that limited, precious resource, has become a form of currency. Every second you spend looking at a screen, scrolling a feed, or watching a video is a moment of attention that someone, somewhere, is trying to capture and profit from. In this economy, you are not the customer. You are the product. Your attention is what's being bought and sold. Think about the apps you use every day. Social media platforms, news feeds, streaming services. They're not neutral tools designed simply to connect or inform you. They are carefully engineered systems built around what's known as persuasive design, a set of psychological strategies created to keep you engaged for as long as possible. Every like, comment, or notification is part of that system. It's designed to trigger small bursts of pleasure in your brain, those quick hits of dopamine that make you feel rewarded and encourage you to come back for more. It's the same neurological mechanism used in gambling machines, a pattern of unpredictable rewards that keeps you hooked because you never know when the next good thing will appear. This cycle is what psychologists and technologists call the dopamine loop. You open an app, see a new post, a message, a red notification bubble, and your brain gives you a small reward. It feels good for a moment, but that pleasure fades quickly, so you go back, searching for another hit. The result is a subtle, continuous form of algorithmic conditioning. Your brain is being trained, almost like Pavlov's dog, to respond automatically to digital stimuli. Over time, your mind learns to crave constant input. Silence feels uncomfortable. Waiting feels unbearable. And boredom, which once gave birth to creativity and reflection, now feels almost like pain. It's not an accident that so many people struggle to focus or feel restless without their phones nearby. The architecture of these platforms is built to capture your attention, and once they have it, they rarely let go easily. Every color, every sound, every vibration is optimized for one thing: engagement. The more you click, the more data they collect. The more data they collect, the better they get at predicting what will keep you there. For 5 more minutes, then 10, then 30. This is how the attention economy operates. It doesn't sell you products directly. It sells your attention to advertisers, brands, and corporations. Your scrolling is the raw material of their profit. And yet, most of us like to believe we are in control, that we choose what we watch, read, or post. But if we look closely, we begin to see how much of our behavior online is not really intentional. How many times have you opened an app just to check one thing, only to realize 20 minutes have passed? How often do you find yourself scrolling, not because you want to, but because it's simply become automatic? This is the quiet trap of the attention economy. It replaces conscious choice with habitual reaction. It doesn't force you to stay. It just makes it easier not to leave. There's a profound psychological cost to this. When our attention is fragmented, our inner world becomes fragmented too. Our thoughts become shallower, our emotions more reactive, our sense of time distorted. We start measuring our lives in notifications and likes instead of experiences and memories. And slowly, the line between what we want and what the algorithm wants begins to blur. But here's the thing: awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you start to see this system for what it is, you begin to notice how your attention is being shaped, and you gain the power to reshape it. The key difference lies between external control and internal intention. External control is when the digital world decides what deserves your focus, what you should click, think, or feel next. Internal intention is when you decide. It's when you pause before opening an app and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I looking for? So let me ask you this, and it's a question worth sitting with. Whose goals are you really serving when you pick up your phone first thing in the morning? Is it your goal to feel inspired, informed, or connected? Or is it someone else's, a company's, a brand's, an algorithm's, designed to keep your eyes on the screen? This small question can be surprisingly powerful. because it reminds us that attention is not just something we give away unconsciously, it's something we can direct consciously. As we continue, I want you to keep that in mind. Your attention shapes your reality. What you focus on grows stronger. And in a world built to distract you, choosing where to place your attention is one of the most radical acts of self-liberation you can make. The cost of constant connection. Sometimes, when I'm sitting at my desk, I notice something strange. My hand reaches for my phone without me even realizing it. There's no sound, no vibration, no reason. It's almost like a reflex, as if my body has learned to seek stimulation whenever there's the smallest pause in my thoughts. I unlock the screen, glance at it, maybe open one app, then another. A few seconds later, I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. That's when it hits me. I wasn't making a conscious choice. I was just reacting, filling an invisible gap in my mind with digital noise. And I know I'm not alone in that. It's a quiet, collective habit of our time. We live in an age of constant connection, but that connection often comes at a cost we rarely acknowledge. The human brain wasn't designed to process an endless stream of information, updates, and notifications. Each time you switch your attention from one message to another, from a video to a text, from one tab to the next, your brain pays a small mental fee. Psychologists call this cognitive switching cost. You might not feel it right away, but over time, those tiny interruptions accumulate, creating what we can call mental clutter, a kind of internal noise that makes it harder to focus deeply on anything for long. When your attention is constantly fragmented, it becomes difficult to sustain clear, structured thinking. Ideas that once flowed easily now feel scattered, interrupted by the constant urge to check, refresh, or scroll. This doesn't just affect productivity, it affects how we experience life. Instead of being fully immersed in a task or a moment, part of our mind is always elsewhere, hovering in a digital cloud of possibilities. That divided awareness leads to what neuroscientists describe as cognitive fatigue, a state where your brain feels overloaded. Your thoughts blur together, and even small decisions start to feel exhausting. The emotional consequences are just as real. Our devices promise connection, but they often create a subtle form of emotional noise, a background buzz of anxiety and restlessness. The constant flow of messages and updates means our minds rarely get the silence they need to process emotions or recover from stress. We scroll past tragedy, joy, and conflict within seconds, giving our brains no time to digest what we're seeing. That kind of rapid emotional switching can leave us feeling strangely numb, overstimulated, but underfulfilled. Studies have shown that this digital overload even reshapes memory and identity. In a world of constant access to information, we remember less because we don't have to. Our devices have become external hard drives for our minds. We no longer store knowledge, we store where to find it. This phenomenon, sometimes called cognitive outsourcing, may make life more convenient, but it subtly weakens our ability to reflect, recall, and connect ideas in meaningful ways. Memory is not just about information, it's about personal continuity, the story we tell ourselves about who we are. When our memories live mostly in the cloud, even our sense of identity can become clouded too. Another invisible cost is the erosion of solitude. True solitude, being alone without being lonely, is essential for self-awareness. It's the space where ideas mature, values clarify, and creativity breathes. Yet, with constant connection, those quiet moments have become rare. The second we feel even a hint of boredom or discomfort, we reach for a screen to fill the silence. But that silence was never empty. It was the space where the mind rested and renewed itself. Without it, Our thoughts stay on the surface, our emotions remain half-processed, and our creativity shrinks under the weight of constant input. It's easy to mistake connection for closeness, but they are not the same. Being constantly online doesn't mean we are deeply connected. It often means we are spread too thin, aware of everything but present for nothing. We're surrounded by information, but starved for meaning. This paradox defines much of modern life. We have access to more content than ever, yet we often feel disconnected from ourselves and each other. So maybe the real question is not how much time we spend online, but what kind of attention we bring to it. Are we connecting out of intention or out of impulse? Are we using technology to expand our minds or to escape from our thoughts? The difference lies in awareness. Because when our connection becomes constant, our consciousness becomes diluted. And when everything demands our attention, nothing truly receives it. If you've ever felt mentally tired even after doing nothing difficult, that's cognitive fatigue at work. If you've ever felt restless after scrolling for too long, that's emotional noise. And if you've ever felt strangely disconnected from your own ideas or emotions, that's the echo of mental clutter. The good news is that awareness is the beginning of change. Once we recognize how constant connection shapes our inner world, we can begin to redesign our relationship with it. Technology isn't the enemy. Disconnection isn't the goal. What we need is balance, a way to stay connected without losing the capacity for deep thought, presence, and emotional clarity. Because, at the end of the day, connection means little if it comes at the cost of consciousness. Reconnecting with silence and solitude. There's a quiet irony in our world today. We are surrounded by noise, yet starving for silence. Every empty moment is quickly filled with sound. A podcast in the background, a playlist while walking, a video while eating, constant chatter in digital form. Silence, once a natural part of daily life, has become almost alien, something we avoid rather than embrace. And yet, silence and solitude are the spaces where we truly meet ourselves. Without them, we move through life reacting instead of reflecting, consuming instead of creating, hearing everything but listening to nothing. Digital noise is more than sound. It's the endless flow of mental stimulation. Messages, headlines, notifications, updates that keeps the mind busy but rarely nourished. It's a kind of mental traffic that fills every corner of our awareness. In contrast, inner stillness is what happens when we step back from that flow. It's the calm that arises when external input stops and we allow our minds to simply exist, without agenda, without expectation. The sound of your own thoughts can feel unfamiliar, even unsettling, when you've forgotten what silence sounds like. But that discomfort is not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something real is finally surfacing. Many thinkers and researchers have spoken about the importance of solitude and quiet reflection. The American writer Henry David Thoreau, who spent 2 years living by himself near Walden Pond, once wrote, "I never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude." He believed that solitude wasn't loneliness, it was a state of freedom, where one could truly hear the voice within. In a more modern context, author Cal Newport, who coined the term deep work, explains that focus and creativity can only emerge in the absence of constant distraction. His research shows that our ability to think deeply depends on uninterrupted stretches of silence and concentration, moments that digital noise constantly erodes. From a psychological and even spiritual perspective, mindfulness traditions across cultures, from Buddhist meditation to Stoic reflection, emphasize the value of being still. In silence, the mind learns to observe itself. Thoughts slow down, emotions become clearer, and awareness deepens. What seems empty on the outside is actually full on the inside. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of attention. You might wonder why boredom feels so uncomfortable in our time. In truth, boredom is one of the most creative states a human being can experience. It's the mind's signal that it has space. Space to wander, imagine, and make new connections. Many artists, writers, and inventors have said that their best ideas came during quiet, unplanned moments. A walk alone, a long shower, or a train ride without distractions. When we constantly fill those moments with scrolling or background noise, we deny ourselves the raw material of insight. In silence, our subconscious begins to work. It connects fragments of ideas, processes emotions, and reveals truths we might otherwise ignore. But there's another reason silence matters. It teaches us to listen, not to others, but to ourselves. Beneath the constant noise of social media and entertainment, there is an inner dialogue that waits to be heard. It's the voice that tells you what you truly need, what you truly value, and who you truly are. The more we silence the outside world, the clearer that inner voice becomes. Yet for many people, that first encounter with silence can be unsettling. When the distractions fade, we come face to face with our own thoughts, the unfiltered, unedited version of ourselves. That's why many avoid it. But if we can stay with that discomfort a little longer, silence transforms from something empty to something alive. A mirror for the mind. There's a saying in mindfulness practice, the quieter you become, the more you hear. And that hearing isn't just about sound, it's about understanding. In stillness, you notice the rhythm of your breath, the subtle sensations in your body, the constant stream of thoughts that pass unnoticed during busy days. You begin to see how your mind works, how emotions rise and fall, how memories resurface, how creativity flickers to life when given space. Silence becomes a teacher, showing you the contours of your own consciousness. So perhaps the real challenge of the digital age is not learning how to consume less, but learning how to be still more. Reconnecting with silence and solitude isn't about isolation, it's about integration, bringing your attention back home. It's about creating moments in your day that belong entirely to you, untouched by screens, algorithms, or other people's expectations. Let me ask you a question, and it's one worth sitting with quietly. When was the last time you listened, really listened, to your inner dialogue? Not the voice of the world, not the noise of notifications, but that soft, persistent voice that speaks in the language of intuition and truth. What is it trying to tell you? If you give yourself even a few minutes of stillness each day, you may find that silence isn't empty at all. It's full of answers, insights, and understanding that no digital feed could ever give you. In that space, the world slows down, and for the first time in a long time, you begin to hear what really matters. The principles of digital minimalism. At this point in our journey, we've explored how digital overload affects our minds, our emotions, and even our sense of self. But awareness alone isn't enough. It's the starting point, not the destination. Once we recognize how easily our attention can be pulled and fragmented, the next step is learning how to reclaim it with clarity and purpose. That's where the philosophy of digital minimalism comes in. And contrary to what some people imagine, digital minimalism isn't about giving up technology. It's not about deprivation. It's about curation. It's the art of choosing what truly adds value to your life and letting go of what doesn't. Think of your digital life the way you might think of your home. Over time, clutter builds up. Old clothes, unused gadgets, piles of things you once thought you needed but never touch anymore. They don't just take up space, they drain energy and attention. The same thing happens in our digital spaces. Apps, subscriptions, notifications, and messages accumulate until our mental home feels chaotic and crowded. Practicing digital minimalism is like decluttering your mind through your devices. It's about creating digital simplicity, a space that feels light, intentional, and aligned with what really matters to you. At its heart, digital minimalism is built on three core principles: intentionality, boundaries, and purpose. Let's unpack them one by one. Intentionality means using technology with awareness, not by default, but by choice. It's asking yourself, why am I using this? Before you open an app or start scrolling. Intentional use transforms your relationship with technology from something reactive to something conscious. You might decide, for example, that social media is valuable for staying informed or inspired, but not for endless browsing. You might still check messages, but at specific times rather than every few minutes. This shift, from impulsive reaction to deliberate choice, is where digital minimalism truly begins. The second principle is boundaries. Boundaries protect what's important. Without them, digital life tends to expand and overflow into every corner of our day. Setting clear limits isn't about control, it's about freedom. It's saying, this far and no further. For instance, you might create phone-free times during meals, early mornings, or before bed. Some people even introduce what's known as a digital Sabbath, a period, often one day a week, when they disconnect completely to rest, reflect, or simply live offline. These intentional pauses allow your mind to reset. They remind you that your worth, your creativity, and your peace don't depend on being constantly connected. The third principle, purpose, gives meaning to your digital choices. It asks, what role should technology play in my life? The goal isn't to reject it, but to use it as a tool that supports your deeper intentions: learning, connecting, creating, or growing. If an app, platform, or habit doesn't serve those purposes, it probably doesn't deserve a place in your daily rhythm. For example, if your purpose online is to learn, you might choose educational podcasts, long-form articles, or language learning communities, not endless streams of content designed for distraction. Purpose helps you align your digital actions with your larger goals. Just as we clean our homes to make space for what we love, we can declutter our digital environments to make space for what we value. Imagine opening your phone and seeing only the essentials. No chaos, no noise, no unnecessary apps competing for your attention. Each digital tool would serve a clear, intentional function. That's what digital minimalism feels like: calm, focused, and empowering. Of course, it takes practice. Modern life constantly tempts us to consume more content, more updates, more information. But true satisfaction often comes from less. Fewer distractions, fewer choices, fewer interruptions. The minimalist approach teaches mindful consumption, engaging with technology consciously rather than compulsively. It means reading one article fully instead of skimming 10, having one meaningful online conversation instead of jumping between threads, watching one film without checking your messages halfway through. Each of these small acts is a form of conscious design, shaping your digital experience rather than letting it shape you. To start, you don't need a radical change. Begin with small, simple steps. Try deleting one app that doesn't truly serve you. Turn off a few unnecessary notifications. Move the most distracting icons off your home screen. Schedule one offline hour every evening, or set aside a morning each week without screens. These adjustments might seem small, but their impact builds quickly. You'll notice more mental clarity, deeper focus, and even subtle emotional shifts. A sense of relief, space, and quiet that modern life rarely offers. Digital minimalism is, in the end, a philosophy of freedom through focus. It's about reclaiming ownership of your time and attention, the two most valuable currencies you have. When you remove what's unnecessary, you make room for what's meaningful. You begin to live with more awareness, more creativity, and more peace. So, the next time you reach for your phone, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this intentional? Does it align with my purpose? Does it add value to my life, or just noise to my mind? These questions might seem simple, but they have the power to transform your digital experience, one conscious moment at a time. Reclaiming focus and presence. One of the greatest losses in our hyper-connected world is not our time, but our focus. Focus is the invisible thread that connects our thoughts, actions, and goals. It's what allows us to do meaningful work, to listen deeply, and to experience moments fully. But today, our focus is constantly under attack, scattered by notifications, messages, updates, and endless digital temptations. It's easy to forget that attention is not infinite. It's a limited resource. When we give it away carelessly, we also give away our ability to think clearly and live intentionally. In many ways, focus is like a muscle. It grows stronger with use and weaker with neglect. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you're strengthening that muscle. Every time you sit down to do one thing deeply, to read, write, or simply think, you're training your brain to stay present. But if we constantly multitask, our minds adapt to that fragmented rhythm. We become restless, impatient, unable to concentrate even for short periods. We start craving stimulation, mistaking constant movement for progress. Reclaiming focus, then, is a form of mental fitness, a deliberate practice that requires consistency and care. One of the most effective ways to rebuild that mental strength is through deep work, periods of uninterrupted concentration on a single meaningful task. Deep work isn't just about productivity. It's about depth of engagement. It's when you lose track of time because you're completely immersed in what you're doing. Writing, designing, learning, creating. In these states of flow, your mind operates at its best, connecting ideas and producing insights that scattered attention could never achieve. You might start with small steps, turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs, and dedicating even 30 minutes to focused, undistracted work. Over time, you'll notice your mind becoming calmer, sharper, and more capable of sustained thought. Another powerful strategy is single tasking, doing one thing at a time with full attention. In a culture that glorifies multitasking, single tasking feels almost radical. But true focus demands it. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you listen, just listen. It sounds simple, yet it's deeply transformative. It trains your brain to find satisfaction in presence, rather than distraction. Each act of single tasking is a quiet rebellion against the culture of constant stimulation. It's a way of saying, I choose to be here, now. Equally important is setting a clear intention before each digital activity. Before opening your laptop or picking up your phone, ask yourself, what do I want to achieve right now? This small pause creates a mental boundary between you and the digital noise. It shifts you from reactive checking, mindlessly responding to every ping, to proactive choosing, where your actions align with purpose. When you enter the digital world intentionally, you become the master, not the follower, of your attention. You decide where your energy goes, instead of letting algorithms decide for you. To visualize this, imagine your attention as sunlight. Wherever you shine it, things grow. The problem is, most of us scatter our sunlight in all directions. A few rays on our goals, a few on random notifications, a few on things that don't truly matter. As a result, nothing grows deeply. Everything remains half-lit. But when you direct that light intentionally, focusing it on what truly matters, your relationships, your craft, your growth, those areas begin to flourish. The power of focus lies not in how much you have, but in how you use it. This metaphor also invites reflection. What parts of your life are in the shade right now, simply because your attention is elsewhere? Maybe it's your health, your creativity, or your inner peace. Maybe it's your relationships, people who deserve your time but rarely get your full attention because your mind is somewhere else. When we scatter our focus too thinly, we unintentionally neglect the things that matter most. But the good news is that attention is renewable. You can always redirect it, realign it, and nurture what you truly value. Reclaiming focus and presence isn't about rigid discipline or digital detox extremes. It's about relearning the art of attention, of being here, fully, without dividing yourself between screens and moments. Start small. Take a few minutes each day to do one thing with undivided attention. Put your phone away during meals. Give someone your full presence in conversation. Read a few pages without checking your messages. These acts may seem minor, but collectively, they retrain your mind to value depth over speed, quality over quantity. The truth is, presence is powerful. When you are fully present, even ordinary experiences feel richer. A walk becomes meditation, a conversation becomes connection, and a simple moment becomes meaningful. Focus gives life texture and depth. Without it, everything blurs together into a stream of half-lived moments. So, as you move forward, remember, your attention shapes your reality. The things you focus on grow stronger, while the things you neglect slowly fade into the shade. Choose carefully where to shine your light, because in the end, that light defines the kind of life you live. Rebuilding real connection. In many ways, digital minimalism is not about disconnecting from the world, but about reconnecting with what's real. It's about remembering that behind every screen lies a life, a moment, a heartbeat, and that our deepest needs as human beings haven't changed. We still crave belonging, understanding, and authentic connection. Yet, in a world where messages travel instantly, our connections have often become thinner, more superficial, stretched across countless chats and social media threads. We communicate constantly, but connect rarely. The paradox of our age is that we are hyper-connected and emotionally distant at the same time. True digital minimalism invites us to reimagine what connection means. It's not the number of contacts we have or how often we post, but the depth and quality of our relationships that truly matter. Think of how it feels when someone talks to you while half looking at their phone. Their words reach your ears, but not your heart. Now imagine the opposite. Meeting someone who looks you in the eye, listens fully, and seems genuinely present. No quick glances at notifications, no distracted nods, just focused attention. In those moments, something powerful happens. You feel seen. You feel valued. That is emotional presence, and it's something technology often steals from us, quietly, without our noticing. I remember once sitting in a small cafe with an old friend. We hadn't met in years. The table next to us was filled with people scrolling through their screens, barely speaking. But we decided, no phones, just conversation. For 2 hours we talked about life, fear, dreams, and the quiet ways we had changed. Time slowed down. The noise of the cafe faded. When we finally stood up to leave, I realized how rare that kind of undistracted dialogue had become. It wasn't dramatic or life-changing, but it felt deeply real, as if we had rediscovered an ancient rhythm of human connection. Moments like that remind us that communication without presence is just noise. In relationships, romantic, familial, or professional, the real currency is not attention in the digital sense, but emotional bandwidth. It's the space we create for another person's story, emotions, and silence. When we fill every pause with a scroll or a swipe, we shrink that space. We stop listening between the lines, the place where empathy lives. Digital empathy begins when we use technology consciously, with care and intention. It means sending messages not out of habit, but with meaning, using our devices to extend compassion rather than distraction. A thoughtful voice note, a message of gratitude, or a simple check-in can still hold power, if done with genuine presence. And yet, rebuilding real connection also means reconnecting with yourself. We can't expect to be emotionally available to others when our own minds are fragmented. Taking breaks from screens allows us to hear our own thoughts again, to reflect, recalibrate, and breathe. Self-connection forms the foundation of all other relationships. When you know your emotions, needs, and boundaries, you connect with others from a place of authenticity, not performance. It's no coincidence that many people feel lonely, even while surrounded by hundreds of online friends. What's missing isn't communication, it's authentic engagement, the willingness to show up as we are, not as our profiles present us. Reconnecting with the world around us can also mean turning to nature, one of the most profound teachers of presence. There's something grounding about walking without headphones, noticing the wind, the smell of rain, or the rhythm of your own footsteps. Nature doesn't demand our attention through notifications. It invites it through stillness. It reminds us that connection doesn't always require words or screens. Sometimes it's enough to simply be, to coexist quietly with the world that sustains us. The shift from quantity to quality in connection is a form of quiet revolution. It's choosing fewer, deeper conversations over dozens of superficial exchanges. It's deciding to meet face to face instead of just liking someone's photo. It's slowing down enough to notice the tone in someone's voice, the expression in their eyes, the energy in the silence between sentences. These small acts bring warmth back into human interaction, the warmth that algorithms can't replicate. So perhaps the question we should ask ourselves is not, how many people did I connect with today? But rather, how deeply did I connect? Did you give someone your full attention? Did you listen without checking your phone? Did you speak from the heart rather than from habit? These small but profound shifts rebuild the bridge between digital and real, between noise and meaning. Because in the end, digital minimalism is a philosophy of reconnection. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world, but about engaging with it more deliberately, more soulfully. It's a reminder that technology should serve human connection, not replace it. When we choose presence over distraction, when we offer someone our full attention, we give them one of the most precious gifts we have, our time. And in doing so, we rediscover something technology can never digitize, the quiet beauty of being fully human. Practical integration. Small steps for big change. Now that we've explored the philosophy and principles of digital minimalism, let's turn our attention to the practical side. How to integrate these ideas into your daily life in ways that are sustainable, meaningful, and realistic. The key is not to aim for perfection, to remove all technology, or live as if the modern world doesn't exist, but to redesign your relationship with it. Small, consistent actions, repeated over time, can create profound shifts in focus, emotional balance, and overall cognitive clarity. One of the most effective strategies is to set intentional offline hours each day. This doesn't mean a full digital detox or abandoning work responsibilities. It simply means allocating specific blocks of time when devices are set aside. During these hours, you might read a book, go for a walk, cook, or simply reflect. The goal is to create mental space, a pause from the constant stream of information, so that your brain can rest, recharge, and rebuild its ability to focus. Over time, these offline hours become a kind of intentional rhythm, a natural cadence that balances your digital consumption with real-life presence. Another simple but powerful habit is to start mornings without screens. Many people begin their day by immediately checking emails, social media, or the news feed, effectively allowing someone else's priorities to set the tone for their entire day. Instead, consider beginning your mornings with reflection, journaling, light exercise, or simply enjoying your surroundings. This practice helps you exercise self-regulation, ensuring that your attention is guided by intention rather than impulse. By protecting the first moments of your day, you strengthen the mental clarity that will carry through every subsequent task and decision. For those willing to take a larger step, a tech-free Sunday or another full day without screens can be transformative. This doesn't need to be extreme or rigid. Even a partial day, where work emails, social media, and non-essential notifications are set aside, allows the mind to reset, fosters creativity, and deepens connections with people and experiences around you. Such practices also serve as a mirror, showing you how much of your attention is habitually spent online versus what could be devoted to more meaningful pursuits. Beyond simply cutting down on passive consumption, digital minimalism encourages using technology for creation rather than mere consumption. Writing, coding, learning a new skill, creating art, or producing content for personal or professional growth engages the brain in active, meaningful work. Contrast this with mindless scrolling or endless video watching. One nourishes your attention and cultivates skills, while the other gradually erodes focus and leaves you feeling mentally fatigued. By shifting from passive to active use, technology becomes a tool of empowerment rather than a source of distraction. A crucial point in adopting these habits is to focus on consistency over perfection. It's easy to become discouraged if you check your phone during offline hours or fail to resist notifications every single time. What matters is the cumulative effect of repeated, deliberate practice. Each intentional choice strengthens your mental resilience, reinforces your internal boundaries, and gradually rewires your cognitive patterns toward proactive attention rather than reactive distraction. Think of it as building a muscle. It doesn't strengthen overnight, but consistent training leads to lasting capacity and endurance. As you implement these practices, pay attention to the subtle changes in your mind and body. You may notice cognitive clarity, a feeling of mental lightness as your thoughts become less fragmented. You may sense emotional calm as the constant noise quiets. You may discover creativity emerging in moments you previously would have filled with scrolling. These shifts are the reward for practicing intentional rhythm, aligning your digital habits with your internal priorities rather than external demands. Start small. Perhaps you commit to just one offline hour per day, or begin your mornings screen-free for 3 consecutive days. Then build gradually. Add another tech-free block. Introduce a creation-focused activity, or expand your offline period. Over weeks and months, these small interventions compound, creating a profound sense of control over your attention and a richer engagement with life. Ultimately, the goal is not to reject technology, but to harness it consciously, using it to amplify your creativity, focus, and connection. By practicing self-regulation, cultivating cognitive clarity, and designing an intentional rhythm for your digital life, you reclaim what has been quietly siphoned away: your attention, your time, and your sense of presence. With these small, thoughtful steps, the digital world becomes your servant rather than your master, and every moment, online or offline, becomes an opportunity to live with clarity, purpose, and presence. As we come to the close of today's conversation, I invite you to take a deep breath and reflect on what we've explored together. At the heart of digital minimalism lies a simple but profound insight. Attention is life's most valuable currency. Every moment you spend, every glance, every click, these are not just actions. They are investments. When we scatter our attention across endless streams of notifications, videos, and messages, we are, in effect, spending our most precious resource on things that may not truly matter. Conversely, when we direct our focus intentionally, we allow our energy to nourish what is meaningful, enriching, and life-affirming. Consider this for a moment. What would happen if you directed your attention, fully, deliberately, toward what truly matters to you? Imagine a day in which you are fully present for a conversation with a loved one, fully engaged in a creative project, or simply fully attentive to your own inner thoughts and feelings. The depth of experience, the richness of connection, and the clarity of thought that can arise in those moments is remarkable. Yet, in our hyper-connected world, we often settle for fragments of presence, unaware of the vitality that focused attention can bring. One of the most effective ways to begin reclaiming your attention is through small, deliberate experiments. I encourage you to try this for the week. Choose 1 hour each day completely offline. No social media, no emails, no digital distractions. Use this time for reading, reflection, walking, creating, or simply being with your own thoughts. Observe what arises in the absence of constant input. Notice how your mind responds, how your emotions shift, and what insights emerge when the usual digital noise is removed. This is not about perfection. You may be tempted to check your phone, you may feel restless, and that is entirely normal. The important thing is to practice awareness and curiosity, rather than judgment. As you engage in this experiment, reflect on the quality of your attention throughout the day. Are you reacting impulsively to notifications, or choosing where to focus your energy? Are you present in conversations, or is your mind elsewhere? Are your digital habits supporting your values, or are they subtly shaping you in directions you haven't consciously chosen? These questions are not intended to induce guilt, but to foster insight. Awareness is the first step toward transformation, and every small act of intentionality compounds over time, gradually reshaping how you experience life. It's also worth remembering that digital minimalism is not a one-time achievement, but a continual practice. It's a gentle invitation to live with more depth, more clarity, and more presence. Each choice you make about how to spend your attention is a reaffirmation of your priorities, your values, and your sense of self. The journey is less about rigid rules and more about cultivating mindful engagement, noticing where your attention goes, making conscious choices, and savoring the richness of focused experience. In essence, digital minimalism is not about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming yourself. It is about taking back the reins of your attention so that your digital world serves your life, rather than the other way around. As you step away from this episode, consider what it might mean to live each day with more intentionality, to protect your mental space, and to cultivate moments of genuine presence. These moments, multiplied over days, weeks, and months, are what deepen your understanding, creativity, and emotional resilience. So here's your gentle call to action. Start small, stay consistent, and observe. Choose 1 hour of deliberate offline time this week. Listen to your thoughts, engage fully in an activity, or simply sit in quiet reflection. Notice the subtle shifts in your awareness, the emergence of clarity, and the restoration of mental space. Let this be the beginning, not of a radical rejection of technology, but of a mindful reclamation of your life, your focus, and your presence. Remember this: attention is the currency of life, and how you spend it determines the richness of your experience. Digital minimalism is not an end, but an invitation to live with depth, to engage with intention, and to rediscover the extraordinary potential of your own mind. As you move forward, carry this awareness gently with you. Reclaim your attention, cultivate presence, and allow yourself to experience life fully, deliberately, and meaningfully. If you found this episode helpful, subscribe to Code Your English for more insights on mindful living and learning. Share in the comments one small step you'll take this week to reclaim your focus, and give us a like to support more thoughtful content.